Welcome to the Path Podcast, where we will travel the lives of some bold women, from dreams to detours to destiny. She did not choose this path chose her. This is the Path Podcast. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Path Podcast with your sister, Arlene. Today, we are talking all things therapy, the importance of it, the stigma some of you may have around it, and why you should consider if it's right for you. And if you need it, you won't feel ashamed to say so. As I said when we started the podcast, we are talking to some bold women who share their stories of obstacles and pain that they've come through on their path and turned them into opportunities of healing, businesses, advocacy work, and freedom to be their authentic selves. And along with them, we will also have those who serve a purpose also to help us heal and move past these obstacles. Like my guest today, Brenda Duncan, founder of Legacy Counseling. Let me share more about her before we get into the podcast. Brenda Duncan is a mother of two wonderful boys, 16 and 17 years old, which one of her sons is a special needs child. Brenda is a veteran of the armed forces who received her bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of South Alabama and master's of social work from Hawaii Pacific University. As a licensed master social worker, author, entrepreneur, Brenda received her certifications and expertise in a vast array of therapeutic interventions, such as domestic violence, forensic social work, trauma, focused CBT, and many more. Brenda currently is working as a mental and behavioral health therapist for adolescents, but has experience working at all levels, even up to senior citizens. As the self-proclaimed the relatable therapist, we're going to get into that in a second. This Army veteran is set on a self journey to help to heal wounds by empowering others to be their very best and finding their potential. Brenda is the founder of Legacy Counseling, whose motto is, "What will you leave behind?" Everyone has a story, and she is here to help you find it and build your legacy. Her roots are sown in the same circumstances and life experiences. She's a bold, opinionated, and not scared to get into good trouble. She fights for what she believes in. As a born leader and fierce therapist, her goal is to bring Black mental health to the forefront and advocate for better diagnosis, access, and education. She's also dedicated to teaching and mentoring future social work art activists with the knowledge and skills to continue building the legacy of Black mental health. She lives professionally in by advocacy, empowerment, honesty, and hard work. She will not have you to do something that she would not do herself. She believes the hardest part of seeking help is admitting you need it. Help me welcome in my guest, Brenda Duncan, the relatable therapist. Welcome, Brenda. How are you?
Hi, thank you very much for having me on. Thank you.
No, thank you for being here. I am really excited to hear more about what the relatable therapist is all about. I love that title you would coin yourself. Tell me first, what is the relatable therapist?
To be all honest, I don't know how I came up with that name.
Uh-huh.
It just, I think one day, just sitting around, just thinking of just some stuff to do. How can I stand out? Because you have so many, therapists and
Hmm.
uh, therapy businesses and things like that, and it's like, well, how can it stand out? And so my philosophy has always been, one, I'm not gonna have you do something that I know I won't do.
Exactly.
So then I'm like, well, then I want a place or a therapist that I want to relate to.
Exactly.
And I'm like, now if I don't want to even come and see me, then how is anybody else going to want to come and see me?
Exactly.
How can I relate to them?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up coming with it. And I just started saying it. I'm the relatable therapist, and it's just been catching on.
Of course. But because you know what? That makes sense. To that point, you coming up with something catchy, but even with me reading a lot about what therapists, what people should look for in a therapist, I read a lot of different articles where they said that you should feel comfortable with your therapist. You need to
Hmm.
feel like you can relate to your therapist. And some people said they I read something also where they said if you don't feel comfortable with the person, no, some people may not feel comfortable going to a therapist, but then they said if you don't feel comfortable, then maybe you should seek possibly somebody else. So
Hmm.
being coined the relatable therapist makes sense for what someone should be looking for when they're looking for a therapist. So perfect terminology, I must admit.
Yes.
And I think that's because of your expertise in it that you know it needs to be relatable.
Yes.
Do you, in your profession, how long have you been doing this?
I have been doing this for over 13 years.
Wow.
I started as like a behavior aid, just like a regular person, working in a mental hospital while I was going in school.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a professional, I've been doing this for over 6 years.
Okay. So it sounds like something you have a heart for, especially going back when I read your bio that one of your sons is a special needs child.
Yes. Funny story is,
Hmm.
um, when I was young, I never said I was going to be a therapist.
Okay.
I was going to be a doctor.
Hmm.
I was going to be an ER chief trauma surgeon.
Oh, wow.
That was my goal. That's I was going to be.
Hmm.
And once I got to school, I realized you need math to be a doctor,
Hmm.
and I suck at math.
A lot of us
so
do.
there was so there was no way that I was going to pass any of the classes to become a medical doctor. So I had to find something to
Yes.
fall back on.
Uh-huh.
And so when you're in when you go to college, whatever, you have your core classes, then you just have just your general ed classes
Yes.
that you have to take. And one of the classes that I had to do was intro to psychology.
Hmm.
Now I did it in high school, but it really didn't catch me, as much.
Hmm.
But for some reason, when I took it in college, I don't know if I was probably older and understood it a little bit better, or if my professor at the time articulated it differently.
Hmm. Hmm.
And at that point, I said, this is something that I can do.
Wow.
I know I can do this. And that next day, I changed my major from pre med to psychology.
Wonderful. But then you found your interest in something that you truly love that is just as important as being a doctor, of course, which is be having a therapist is very important to me today. We have not heard a lot about all the different works that especially like you said in the Black community. It is very important, I think, in our community because we were kind of taught somewhat seemed like there's something wrong with that, and or we've heard it from somewhere. Let me say
Hmm.
it that way. And now, to me, at least, I'm hearing it more, even though I know it's not as prevalent, maybe as in some other communities. But it is critical to have more and more people that we could go to. Maybe if some people want to feel more comfortable going to, certain other. Uh, Someone who they may feel like they can relate to even more, like we were talking about earlier. So that math thing wasn't, it really got you away from being a surgeon, huh?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
And y'all will probably appreciate that because
I think so. Some people may.
yes, yes, because it eh, yeah, that changed my whole all my dreams. I
Okay.
I was going to be the doctor. Yes, I was, but I could I can help in other ways. And I mean, and I think this was something that I was destined
To do.
to do anyway because I always had uh, a helping ear.
Yes.
I always was, I listened and I always loved to give advice.
Okay.
And I said, well, I can go in a profession where I get
Paid to do.
paid to give advice. So,
I agree.
so yeah, but going through my classes and things like that, sometimes it was um, a little depressing
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't that many black people in it. There were times where I would be the only black person in my
Oh,
class.
wow.
It wasn't that many of us in that profession.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Even when I went through my master's program, there was not a lot of black people in there.
Okay.
So, uh, you know, and I used to always think like, well, dang,
Mm-hmm.
what if I don't want to talk to a white therapist?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We had a exercise one time at school where we were role playing some of the things that we had learned, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And my partner was this white woman,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to play the patient. And one of the things that I asked her was, "Do you have experience with black people?"
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that kind of caught her off guard because she didn't know what to say. She froze up.
Oh, wow.
So when we had to go, and our professor was coming around, asking us, each of the groups, what did you get out of it,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. She, when he got to us, she was like, well, she asked me if I had experience with black people, and everybody looked at me
Mm-hmm.
like, did she really ask that question?
Uh-huh.
And he was like, well, what made you ask that? I said, because I mean, it's really not that many of us that's in the class.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not that many of us go to a therapist. So, how are is she going to be able to relate to me? How's she
Mm-hmm.
going to be able to help me?
Mm-hmm. Did they feel like it was something that should have not been asked, or did they understand where you were coming from, not trying to make it just a color thing, but just truly having people like you said, the relatable therapist, someone who you feel also knows the information to help me heal, but also can relate
Mm-hmm.
to me also as uh, um, the same race. Not that, and let me say this to everyone out there. We're not saying that everybody always, somebody could not understand me. Some people can walk in, and understand some things I go through, but we all have to admit there are some differences that I may experience that someone else of another race may not experience. So we have to be honest about all of that as well. So did they
Mm-hmm.
understand what the point you were making?
Um, not really,
Okay.
because the professor was white
Mm-hmm.
as well. Um, but the few black people that was in there understood what I was trying to say.
Yes. Yes.
Um, like case in point, we had this one uh intern
Mm-hmm.
that she was a white intern,
Mm-hmm.
and she was working in the mental hospital where mostly a lot of black kids are there.
Mm-hmm.
And she came back calling one of the patients, oh, he's a liar and this and that. And so, we're talking, well, what is he lying about?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, his mama done died about 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, uh, okay, well, what do you mean that his mama done died about 4 times?
Mm-hmm.
Every time we come in, is this mama died, that mama died. Uh, um, but he was just talking to his mama yesterday. So then, what we figured out was you know, in the Black community, we attach labels to a lot of people that's not biologically
Yes.
family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he might have had, that could have been his best friend's mama
Mm-hmm.
that he probably called mama,
Mm-hmm.
or a grandma that he called mama.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So he probably did have about four mamas that died,
Yes.
but because she didn't understand,
Mm-hmm.
she she wrote him off as a liar.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. That's yes,
Hmm.
and that's understandable. Do you deal with other clients besides African Americans if they come to you?
I
Yeah.
do.
Okay.
My clientele now, I have a mixture of
Okay.
everybody, because I want to be able to learn different cultures,
Yes.
learn different
Of
people.
course. Of course.
I know everybody is not going to be my way, so I have to keep myself abreast on what's going on, things like that. Like with my
Mm-hmm.
teenagers, I have a book of the latest terminology
Mm-hmm.
so that I can try to relate to them when they're talking. Like I just learned no cap.
I've heard that. Uh-huh.
Learn that dry
Uh-huh.
snitching, yeah, and they appreciate it more because they see that I'm trying, and I'm actually trying to relate with them.
Exactly.
My whole uh therapy
Mm-hmm.
style is I try not to be a therapist,
Okay.
like in the traditional sense.
Exactly. And that's because you
You
deal with a
know,
lot of younger people as well. Like you say, I know you go up to senior citizens if needed, but you still deal with a lot of young people or have always dealt with that. So that's why you try not to come off like a therapist or just you do that for everybody
yes.
to try to make them feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I do that for
Oh, okay.
everybody. Like yes, like I have a client now. She's 60,
Uh-huh. Oh, wonderful.
and when I talk to her, I don't talk to her like going through my books and stuff that I've
Mm-hmm.
learned. No, I talk to her just like how me and you are talking,
Yes.
just a regular conversation. And she likes that
Of
better.
course.
She sits there, she talks. She doesn't even know that like if we're conversating, I'll throw some uh therapy things out
Mm-hmm.
there,
Mm-hmm.
and and I'll get the answer, but I mix it in with a conversation where you don't feel like, oh Lord, this is just a boring
Yes.
therapy
Yes.
session. Because some people can't even, can't talk for like 30 minutes or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's a stretch for them, but if you put it to where they're
Yes.
comfortable, you have a good rapport with them. Like with me and her, I always have to cut it
Yeah.
off.
Because she's feeling like she's just having a conversation.
Yeah, she's just having a
Yeah.
conversation. I had my one client, is my very first one. We were talking for 2 hours.
Wow. That's wonderful. As the professional and all your training, you're writing down your notes, like you said already. You woven in all the terminology and
Mm-hmm.
everything you've been taught to help them, but they still feel like they're just again having that conversation. That is important. That is makes a person feel comfortable. I
It
can see
is.
for sure. That is a great way, and I wish more people would consider it that way. And it'll take the stress off of the person, like you're
It
sitting there, because
does.
there's something I read on your page too, like, oh, like you said in the bio, you definitely, it makes them know you're not there judging them. It makes them even be more open
Yes.
to feel like when they know you that well or can relate or just having a conversation, that they're open up even
Mm-hmm.
more and feel like they don't have anything they have to hide. They're just
Yes.
talking. That's a great strategy to helping, I know, everyone when you need when they have when they're coming to sessions with you. So let me ask you, in your profession, like you say, you deal from everything from domestic violence to the mental health. Is there anyone in particular more that you find yourself working with more?
Most of the people that I'm getting right now is anxiety or depression
Exactly. Okay.
is what I'm getting. Um which is fine.
Yes.
Uh because that is let's see, something that I also deal with.
Yes.
So the things that I learned, I throw it right at them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And we just sit here, we talk, I'll give them worksheets, things that I have done to help with my anxiety and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
um so like I said, I won't give you anything that I
Hadn't
have
done.
done.
And you know what? When I
Hmm.
read that earlier, that I know, for some of us who have never really dealt with it, or definitely not on your level of the profession, I don't know why I was surprised to find that anxiety. People go to therapy for that, but I can see after I read it and realized it's stress, depression. The
Hmm.
depression part, of course, I think we all know people go for reasons such as that. But anxiety did shock me for some reason. Why do you think somebody like me who don't have never, I've thankfully have not dealt with it, but I know I have family and friends that I know that has, and it is very, I just want to hug them. That's my way. And like you said, I know that's not therapy, Brenda, but I ask, why would I not think there's something someone goes to a therapist for? Anxiety. What makes it something that I would need to talk to a therapist about?
Okay, so you have, everybody has anxiety.
Yes. Yes.
That's it, but it's different levels
I
and
agree.
how you deal with it.
Yes.
So one thing that when I was younger, I was always told I was a worry wart.
Hmm. Okay.
Nobody in the family liked to tell me anything because I would sit there and worry about it,
Hmm.
try to figure out how can I fix it or whatever.
Hmm.
I never heard the term anxiety.
Hmm.
So I've been dealing with it my whole life. Um, so as I've gotten older, things like that, um, with anxiety, where it becomes a problem where you need to seek help,
Hmm.
is when it's invading your daily life.
Makes sense. Yes.
Like for me, for instance, like I said, I'm, a worry wart.
Hmm.
I can sit and worry about something all day,
Yes.
and to the point where um, I am not doing as much at work,
Mhm, mhm,
because I'm trying to figure out, okay, now how can I, do this, that. In school, it was bad.
mhm.
Um, uh, one example, and this, I'm getting better at it,
Yes,
but this used to just get on my nerves.
yes.
So, would be in school,
Mhm,
be in class. I have been sitting in this specific seat
mhm,
the whole semester.
mhm,
Come in, and somebody is sitting in my seat.
mhm.
Mind you, no, we do not have assigned seats. It's college.
Yes,
But
but that's not the point,
for
right?
six, we've been here for like 14 weeks,
Yes.
and I've been sitting in that seat all 14 weeks.
Mhm, mhm.
I have now, everything that we are learning in class,
Mhm.
I don't know what we're talking about, because in my head, I'm pissed that this person is in the seat.
Yes.
And now I'm trying to think of ways on how I can get here earlier so I
Oh,
can get my seat.
yes,
And I do that all day.
yes. So you adding more stress onto yourself. Even now, you're trying to
Exactly.
figure out how to rework your whole schedule just
Yes,
to get to
yes.
class, just to get
Just
that
to
seat.
get to class earlier so that I can get my seat. And I'm sure if there was ever such a thing, I know that person had to feel my eyes burning in their back of their head, because
If
I'm
nothing
so
else.
pissed.
Oh my, and you know what? And I know we're laughing, but I know, as you know, anxiety, that is real. That is real.
Yes,
So, and
yes.
you're right. We all do have a forms of anxiety, because now that you say that, because this is 2021. This is after the 2020, the pandemic hit. Um, in 2020, I must admit, in the very beginning last year, around April, March, when everything closed down here in, Georgia, I was a little, had a little anxiety going to the grocery stores, I must admit. And it played with my mind a little bit, and I'm sitting here like, and that was the first time I seriously can say I admitted to, wow, I think this is what people who really, like you said, the ones who experience it at that several a level of real, some serious anxiety. This is probably some of what they felt. I know it's not everything possibly, but it made me truly kind of felt that, because it's like I said, I know some other people possibly who I'm close to that may experience that somewhat. That's the first time I seriously kind of had some anxiety, I must admit. And I would walk in the store. I kept Clorox wipes in my hands. I I still do somewhat. I have the alcohol wipes now. I keep them in my hands seriously, because you can't get me to touch those pads at the grocery stores or store. But I am more comfortable, going back out. I have been for months now, but I must admit, I can understand that. So yeah, so you added that, it's that added stress you put back
Mhm.
on yourself, and now,
Yes, is that excessive worry,
yeah,
fear, stress. See, all that like my family till this day still doesn't tell me anything until the last minute.
still, yeah, yeah, they just
And even though I've been working on it, I'm trying to work on it. I've been trying for years, and that's always been my New Year's resolution. And I'm getting better at it.
look, no,
Really getting
Brenda, you
better
in the
at it.
mirror going through
But
all the stuff you've been trained to do, and sit here, it's like, okay,
yes,
Brenda,
and it's like you're I'm like the worst. I'm the worst patient, because I'm like, Brenda, you know all this stuff. Like, what would you sit there and tell your client? And
exactly,
then I'm just like, and then I go back like, oh gosh.
yes.
Yes, it's just yes. So I've been working on it.
Mhm. And you know what? And
It's not as bad as it used to be.
exactly. And you know what? And that's what makes a person, I know, they'll feel like, with everything we go through in life, that's what makes people feel comfortable with some people, because they're like, where I've been and how it feels. So they know any kind of uh, conversation you having where you're advising them how to handle it, they'll know it's coming from a place of you're doing those exercises yourself, or working yourself
Hmm.
through it, because you could experience that yourself if we allow ourselves to go back to feeling a certain way, that we could. So I'm sure that people can feel comfortable talking to someone who understands how it feels.
And one of the things like in our profession as well is self-disclosure.
Yeah.
They don't want you to only disclose when you have to.
Oh, okay.
With me, I tend to do it a lot because I feel like that's how I get rapport
Hmm.
and how I come off relatable.
Makes sense.
So if someone tells me, especially like with the anxiety, like, well, you know what? I'm a therapist with a therapist.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, I'm taking the same medication you taking, so
Yeah.
I know what the side effects and everything feel like. I'm right along with you.
Yes.
This is what my therapist told me to do, so here you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's try this.
So let me ask you this. I realized where you wrote you and some other therapist wrote a book called The Heart of a Therapist. Um,
Yes.
Tell me what that book is about. Does it kind of disclose what the therapists go through, or what is it
It
about?
That one there was our journey on becoming a
Oh,
therapist.
the journey.
Well,
Okay.
yes, the journey becoming a therapist. And that was my first time actually doing anything like that.
Uh huh.
Um I said, well, let me try something different. Let me get out of my comfort zone because I am a introvert. Uh and I said, well, but I love to write. I always wanted to be a writer. So I said, well, this would be, quick and easy because all I had was a chapter in the book. So
Uh-huh.
it's not like I had to write a whole book.
Of
So
course.
yeah, it was just our journeys becoming a therapist.
Okay.
And and I wrote about just what I said earlier about me going to class and taking that intro to psychology and how I ended up changing my whole major.
So that sounded like it would still be an interesting read, especially hearing everyone's different accounts of their journey towards being a therapist. That's one of the things. So all the years that you've been doing it now, like you said, for 6 years now in certain parts. I know you said 13 years in the hospital. I think you said
Yeah, 13 in mental
in
health
mental health.
altogether.
Has it
Yes.
been that rewarding? Like I'm doing what I know I was called to do. That's what you feel like it, and I'm pretty sure you can feel that way when you see like you're helping people. So it feel like this is your calling right now.
That's what it feels
Uh
like.
huh.
I know a lot of people say that a certain thing, but I think this was really for me. I always say that it chose me. I didn't choose it.
Yes, that's exactly something I say on the podcast as well. Yeah,
It-
because a lot of us did not
yes,
choose the walk we walk. Somewhat, I must admit.
yes. Yes, I mean, because like I told you, I was planning on being the ER
Yeah.
chief trauma surgeon,
Yeah.
and look where I'm at. So
Exactly.
that this, yeah. So God had a whole nother plan for me. He probably laughed at me when I was telling him about mine,
Yes.
and he said, "Yeah, okay, I'm gonna let you get as far as you think you're gonna get, and then, yep, and I'm gonna slide right on in there." And
Yeah.
and I've just been doing it ever since.
And that's what I think almost every guest I've had, we all have said the same thing. We want to make God laugh, tell him your story, tell him your plans.
Hmm.
And and that's what I said too. She did not choose this path. This path chose her. So I do understand that part because a lot of us would not be doing what we're doing now. I would not have been doing this podcast. And why not do something I love doing? And I love the
Well,
stories. I
yeah.
love to hear people in their journeys and their path to where they are today. And that excites me because I love to see, especially women, finding that, coming through whatever they came through to get to the point where they are today. And I can see as a therapist how rewarding that possibly could be for you and some of your clients, I'm sure. So
Yeah,
that has to be a
because I
rewarding
came
thing.
through a whole lot. There were times I didn't know where I was going.
Really? Wow.
Yes,
That's
yeah. I mean, a lot of things happened. I got divorced.
oh wow.
My son is special needs.
Mhm.
Um, having to move out of one house, move into another one, going through all of that. And oh Lord,
Yes.
it was just it was a lot. And some days it's still there.
Yes.
But it's a little easier
Hmm.
each day. It has its challenges or whatever. But sometimes my therapy
Hmm.
is when I'm giving therapy to others.
I believe that. I so believe it because I was going to ask you with all like you said just now, the things that you've been through and you've been through a lot. How do you use what you've done to help others? And I can see to your point when you're helping them, it's like they say you minister to yourself as well. So how do you feel like even when you started going through all of that and even did you ever thought to seek um another therapist, even yourself, or did you just use a lot of what you did, your faith, or what helped you try to move through some of this as you continue to move through it?
Well, when I was going through everything, I stopped with my faith. That seems to be like what people usually
Yeah.
do. Stop going to church and praying and stuff like that. I stopped doing all of that.
Hmm.
Um, and I was just in a depressive state, especially with the problems that me and my ex-husband was going through.
Hmm.
Um, we started off with marriage counseling,
Mm-hmm.
is how I actually got into doing therapy.
Mm-hmm.
We went maybe twice,
Yeah.
and he just stopped going, and I kept going,
Mm-hmm. That's good.
and ended up switching over from a marriage counselor to an individual therapist. To this day, I still talk to her,
Wonderful. Yes.
and it has been uh, about to be 6 years.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Hmm.
But because
Yeah, and then the funny thing though, uh, she lives in the same neighborhood as me.
you're kidding. Did y'all know that at first?
No, because I moved in the neighborhood first,
Okay.
and then she moved in. We live on the exact same street.
Mm-hmm.
She just lives around the corner.
Yes. Wow. So they always say it's a small world, right?
Yes.
And that's good to have her so
I just
close
see her, I
still.
just wave and just go, yeah, I don't bother her.
Of
I,
course
I
not.
try to, respect her boundaries and things like that. Like I'll joke with her and say, it's gonna be one of them days I'm just gonna leave a bottle of wine and cookies on your porch, and it's from me.
Yeah.
So just call me. But I try to respect her boundaries, especially, me being the therapist
Of
myself.
course.
I wouldn't want my clients coming to my door and stuff like, okay, yeah, there got to be a time we can cut this off. But
Exactly.
yeah.
And you have to have that because you have a life still.
Yes.
And yes,
Yes.
so that makes sense. It's just like out of
Hmm.
respect, just come during your normal appointments,
Hmm.
please.
Yes,
And
and that's what I do.
that's healthy for everyone.
Yes, but what has been helping, because I am writing my second
Oh,
book,
wonderful.
um, and it's loosely based off my life.
Mhm.
So certain parts that I get to, some are heavy. I have to walk away from.
Mhm.
Um, because it drums up a lot of memories and things like that.
Yes.
But I found it to be very therapeutic.
Wonderful.
Getting through it, writing through it, and and sometimes I'll catch myself smiling and stuff because I will remember, dang, when I was going through it, I didn't think I would make
Of
it.
course.
And look at me now, I'm sitting up here writing about
And you're writing about it. And
it. Hmm.
writing to help others and to even though it's
Yes.
therapeutic for you. And that's how all things, unfortunately, even the bad, work together for good. Because even though you're a therapist, that book will be will be therapy for someone who won't go
Yes.
into um, a plan to meet with a therapist. It would help them.
Yes.
So that is wonderful. So when are you thinking that book might be out eventually? I know you're writing it
It be hopefully by the end of the
end
year.
of the year. So we'll be looking forward to
Hmm.
that. And I'll definitely be that supporter for you and just make sure I put that out there to the listeners as well. So keep me posted on that, please.
Oh, I most definitely will.
And so, so since you're writing, like you said, and therapy is, I mean, it's therapeutic for you. Do you have that where you, I know every client you have, you may not recommend that, but do you recommend journaling and different things like that for some of your clients or?
Yes, depends on the client.
Yeah.
So another thing that I also do that um I try to steer clear of, because you have those therapists that are cookie cutter,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and they try to fit you into their whatever they have
Yes.
instead of the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
I do it the other way around.
Okay.
I don't have a cookie cutter.
Okay. Okay.
uh I tailor my therapy and my interventions to you. So yeah, I might have say you come to me, you got depression, and I have somebody else that might also have depression.
Mm-hmm.
Just because y'all both have depression doesn't mean that y'all are experiencing the same things.
Exactly.
Your depression can be rooted from something else.
Exactly.
So I can't use the same stuff with you that I can with her. And that's where some therapists miss the mark,
Mm-hmm.
everything is not going to go by the book, and that's another thing too.
Mhm.
Some of these therapists are kind of stiff. You got to be flexible.
Yes,
Every client is not going to be the same,
of course not.
so you should not treat them the same. You don't want your doctor to treat you the
Not
same
at
like
all.
all the other
Thank you.
patients.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
why would you do it to everyone else? Yeah, it might be easy because oh well, this person depressed, she's depressed, he's depressed. Well, let me just make a treatment plan for it's the same thing, and then you wonder why they're not getting any better.
Let me tell you, if I needed a therapist, that's what I would want. The same way I want from my doctor, just like you said.
Hmm.
My body is different from your body versus the next person's body. So treat me differently than
Exactly.
everybody else. It's not some things you want pulling that you already got the expertise on, but you still going to tailor it to
Exactly.
that person's need and what caused that trauma, or depression, or whatever it is for
Hmm.
that person.
Yeah,
That is
I want you to
critical.
treat
That is
me
very
like my
critical.
hairdresser treat me. I'm special. I'm
Yes,
special at
exactly.
that moment. She asked me what style I want, how we going to do it today. That's that's how I
Yes,
want it. So yeah, and
I agree. Oh, I
that's
love
why I
that.
call myself the relatable therapist.
I mean, everything you've said so far on here today, it lets us see you really do you to me go
I
that
do.
extra mile to make your clients feel like you are the only client I have, basically. When you're in that session with you, they will feel that way. I can tell. So you definitely, I hope you have that coined already because you had it.
I
It
need to.
works,
I need
says
to.
volumes about.
And the COVID kind of, even though it was kind of bad, it kind of
Yes,
worked out in my favor, especially with me being an introvert. But uh, it
yes,
I feel like this is more relatable, and the reason I say that is because
yes.
like how we're doing this interview now. Sometimes this is how I do
Mm.
therapy sessions. Yeah, so
Sessions, yes. And sometimes they can make a person feel
exactly.
comfortable even.
So not only, especially
Yes,
for
I
the ones
see
that are
how.
nervous, even coming to talk to somebody. So when, like,
Exactly.
say if you came to me and we did our first initial whatever and stuff, I say this to all my clients, no matter the age, who they are, whatever. At the very end, before we hang up or whatever we're on, I say, okay,
Mhm,
so whether it's our session or not, like say today, like I
mhm,
see you every Friday, whether it's our session or not,
mhm,
you have my phone number. You can call me at any time.
mhm,
You can text me.
mhm.
You can
Yeah.
email me. If I'm not
Mhm.
busy, I'll give you a call or text back. I have teenagers.
Yes.
Texting is the best route for them. I can have a whole session with a one of my teenage clients by texting. Yes.
Exactly.
I'll
That's
send them
good.
something in an email. They'll send me pics. Or I had one, she was in class, went to the bathroom, needed to talk to me, sent me some text.
And that's good getting that instant
Exactly.
helping them with an instant
Exactly.
need,
And
their
you don't
need at the
get that
moment.
with
Yeah.
everyone because
No.
let me call, I have to call, get to their secretary, make an appointment.
Yes.
And by that time, but by the time you can probably get on their books, something else then probably came up. So I always let them know that
Exactly.
I'm in your pocket, is what I tell them. I'm in your pocket.
Yes.
So if you need me, hey, you got
I love that.
me.
I love that. So tell me this, what kind of what are the types of sessions that you offer to people who are looking to possibly book Brenda Duncan, the relatable therapist of your company?
Well, I offer people dealing with depression, anxiety, um,
Mm-hmm.
domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
self-esteem issues.
Okay.
I also have
Mm-hmm.
experience working with the LGBTQ community,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
body dysmorphia, um, the
Mm-hmm.
transgender as well. Um, it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot trauma.
Okay.
I'm certified
Wow.
in trauma focused CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. Also a
Okay.
certified in anxiety. I'm also a
Hmm.
forensic social worker, so I can help with mitigations in court. If you had somebody, like say one of your kids might have had a an abuse or anything like that, I'm able to talk with
Hmm.
the do a interview with the child, being a certified forensic
Okay.
social worker. So it's
Hmm.
a lot of things.
You have a
Yes.
variety. Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned all the other stuff that I didn't see that and thought of, even going to the point like you said, LGBTQ, and just all those different things that plays a part. So with all of those things in everything you name, you do it for individual therapy, family
I
therapy
do
as
I do
well. You
family
was
therapy, individual therapy. I'm getting ready to start doing some groups. Um,
Okay.
and I'm gonna do virtual and in person. Um,
Okay.
be looking out for that. Just trying
Okay.
different ways to get mental health out there without it
Yes.
looking like mental health. I guess if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. See, I can't believe how much time goes so fast.
Look,
So,
like I said, I'm right there with you. I can
yeah,
talk about
yeah, I
mental health.
know.
That's my passion, is to bring it
Yes.
out there, like let people know, just because you see a therapist doesn't mean that you're crazy. And I think the
Thank you.
COVID kind of brought mental health to the forefront, because now you're seeing commercials,
Yes.
like you see the celebrities coming out, endorsing some of the things, like you see the commercials with like the different texting ones that you can use, like Talkspace and some other ones or whatever. So it's starting to
Hmm.
come out
Hmm.
more, but it's still not
Exactly.
as popular as it is in the Black community.
And that is something that I can tell is near and dear to your heart for our community,
Yes,
definitely to know and bring it out, and the importance of it, and making sure we're diagnosed the right way and have
yes.
access is some things I read, and and the education and
Hmm.
understanding it. So that so tell me, what are some of the things I know you just mentioned that to let people know if to seek a therapist, you're not crazy. Do you have any other advice you would like to give some people thinking about going to therapy, or anything else you would like to add that we did not talk about uh, throughout this podcast about therapy?
What I would say is, don't let things pile up. Yes,
And
don't let things pile up. Um, and you don't always have to go to a therapist. If you have somebody that you feel comfortable enough with talking to, talk to them.
mhm, mhm,
There are a lot of people that you might have in your circle that will wouldn't mind lending a ear and be able
mhm,
to get some of that stuff out. Because sometimes we're just looking for someone just for us to vent our frustrations and things out on. But because
mhm.
we think that they might be judging us or whatever, we keep a lot of things inside, and when that happens, it piles up, and it can start to
Mhm.
come out or manifest in different ways. So yes,
That
find
makes sense.
somebody that you trust, you feel comfortable
Mhm,
enough with to talk to. And if you don't have a
mhm.
person like that, or you just don't want somebody to know your business, then seek therapy.
Exactly. Yes. And the one thing I read someplace, they said a therapist, the one thing, your friends and the people who love you, some, and not saying all, because may not always be there, but at least if you get to that therapist is someone you can plan something with
Mm-hmm.
that, and like you said, sometimes I'm just I'm in your
Yep, I'm in
pocket,
your pocket.
like you said, even though I know it has to be, within reason a lot of times too, but you're there and seeking a therapist is it could be a great next step if you don't have
Yes,
that person, or a step towards it. Even if you got
yes,
someone, it's good still to get that person who may not know you, and then you build that relationship with your
yes,
therapist uh, to start working towards getting past some of the things that they may
yes.
be dealing with.
Therapy should
So
be an option, not the last
and
option.
it is very important, and it should not be the
Hmm.
last resort. It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't. Tell us what you have coming up. You have any events, or courses, seminars you would
Yeah,
like to
so
share with
I have
the
some
audience?
things in the works. I'm going to be starting some groups. My first one
Uh-huh.
that I'm going to do is a domestic violence survivors group. That
Oh
is
wow.
near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I experienced, and talking to a lot of other people that have as well. And it was
Mm-hmm.
one of my first internships when I was going through school, and I fell in love
Mm-hmm.
with that part. And I think bringing my experiences um, that I've had going through all that, I think I found a nice curriculum that I think will
Yes.
be helpful to other survivors. And my curriculum
Wonderful.
um, that I did when I was in school, it focused on men
Mm-hmm.
instead of women.
Oh.
It
Oh,
did,
really? Mm-hmm.
because I was
Mm-hmm.
just, and the reason I did it because I was just curious, like,
Yes.
like, are there any shelters for men? Do you know
Yeah.
there's more
Mm-hmm.
animal shelters than it is men shelters?
I
Mm-hmm.
believe that. I certainly, unfortunately,
Yes.
believe that. Not that I have anything against it with animals, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm not shocked.
I thought it
Not
would
shocked.
at least be somewhere, a lot, but no, it's not
Yeah.
even close to animal shelters. So you might have
Mm.
a lot of
Wow.
women shelters, women and children, and then like if a man has like his kids, they might take the
Hmm.
kids, but the man won't be able to stay there. Yes.
Mm.
So yeah, I
Really?
focused on that. One of my
Okay.
internships, I had two men that were victims of domestic violence.
Because it is something that we all don't think about as much. Of course, we hear with women that with women more
Yes.
than men, but we know that is unfortunately a serious matter,
Yes.
regardless of the gender who is going through it. So then the course, would it be geared towards men and
Yes. It
women
would
though,
be.
or will
It
it
would.
it just stem from?
Yes, it would be geared for both. It would just be geared for
Okay,
survivors. Yes, because
wonderful,
I don't want it to be
wonderful. Yes,
exclusive. I want it to be inclusive. Everyone can come. Yes.
makes sense.
And
That
then I
makes
have
sense.
some
Wonderful.
other
So
groups that be coming out, and the book. But
mhm.
yeah, most of the times I just wake up and I have an idea, and then I just try to figure out how to execute it. That's usually what happens.
Yes, that's wonderful. Because the thing about it, when you say I just figure out how to
Yes.
execute it, you're executing some things that really is important in our lives, in people's lives. So it's not like you're just doing um math.
Ooh, no, we'll be here forever.
Even though we know math is serious, like you said, being a doctor. I just wanted to go back to that. But I mean, you're doing something that is very important, and that's wonderful. Because that's to me God just working in you and just putting it
Hmm.
out there, and that's wonderful that you're doing the work and not sitting on the gifts and talents that He's given you, and you're putting it to work, and that's exciting. And maybe we have to have you back around, especially those times. I don't want to just deal, like I heard someone else say, domestic violence is unfortunately something that's happening. It should be made aware. I heard somebody else say this was with breast cancer. She said, you just don't want to make it 1 month. It's
Yes.
something that's happening every
Yes.
day, unfortunately, every month.
Yes.
So, so not only like having you around those times of domestic violence month, this can be talked about at any time because it needs to be.
Yes.
So I have to have you come back once you have all of that out eventually, and let's even talk because I think people would want to hear more from you
I will hope
at
so,
least.
and I will gladly be back.
Exactly. So tell everyone then if anyone wants to reach out to you for um a session, do you offer like a session or opening, so people can at least sit and talk to you themselves? How do they connect with you, and do you offer it, and how do they connect with you? Give us all your social media
Yes, so
platforms.
I have my website, www.legacycounseling2020.com. Um, I
Hmm.
have my calendar on there where I made my website where it's accessible to my clients, where they're able to do everything themselves. My
Okay.
calendar is hooked to my phone, so when you see the
Hmm.
calendar on there, you're able to book the how you need to, because you'll see, okay, she's booked here, she's booked there. I can book myself for this and that, stuff like that. So they're
Yes.
able to do all that themselves. I also
Wonderful.
have, of course, the Facebook and the Instagram, at Legacy Counseling. Um, also
Hmm.
have my YouTube. That one there is Legacy Counseling, or you can type in the
Yes.
Relatable Therapist, and that one there I make it to where it's what therapists really talk about. So
Okay.
yeah, you might want to check that one out.
I did look at some of that today. So that one so you're trying to say that gets
Yes,
real,
that one
real,
there
right?
gets real, real.
I was looking at a few of them. So I think I already know. So everyone make sure you check out her YouTube channel, please. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that's really about it.
Before we go, is there anything else you would like to say before we end this call?
Um, Remember, when you need help, seek it. There's nothing wrong
Amen.
with going to seek help. Doesn't make you crazy.
Exactly. I can't agree with you more. I cannot agree with you more. When you need help, seek it. Everyone, I'll be writing down notes. So let me say to the past listeners, Brenda Duncan, she, generally speaking, it's always pretty easy to find a reason not to do something that's good for you, like exercising or finding a therapist. If you're going through a stressful time or feeling happy, anxious, or unsatisfied with yourself and your life and everything else Brenda discussed, that she's working with everyone who feel like they need that extra help. Please don't talk yourself out of taking care of your
Hmm.
feelings and yourself. Brenda Duncan, the relatable therapist, just laid the groundwork for all of us to understand why therapy is important and non threatening. Brenda is dedicated to building the legacy of Black mental health and to anyone else out there that's truly seeking it. She said, and I quote, "I am not here to judge you, but set you on a course of self fulfillment." Connect with Brenda at Legacy Counseling to help set you on the path to regaining the life you know you were meant to live. Brenda and these other therapists out here like her, they're here to help build your story and legacy. Her question is for you: what will you leave behind? Brenda, I can't thank you enough for sharing with all of us here.